the issues necessary to end the war. Yermak added that Ukraine has a clear position and will not allow Russia to speak the language of ultimatums. The basis for negotiations should be international law and the United Nations Charter.
If Russia agrees, then we move to the next phase, which is also clear and for which our partners are ready. If not, then Russia must face pressure through sanctions and other concrete and clear actions. Because we do not trust Russia, we believe they only understand the language of strength. There are no questions for Ukraine, so right now, the issue lies with Russia's position.
Also, the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak, stated, Ukraine and its allies have a common approach. First, a ceasefire, and then negotiations, as Russia will try to use dialogue to mislead everyone. Answering the question whether Ukraine would agree to negotiate with Russia without stopping hostilities if this approach finds support in the United States, Yermak said that Kyiv already knows well what such formats lead to. But there is another side to this. What would that format mean for the US and Europe, especially in terms of regional security, he added. According to Yermak, Russia will try to use the negotiation process as a cover to get out of sanctions, and in general, this format is driven by the desire to mislead everyone. The head of the presidential office emphasized that the question is whether Europe and the United States are ready to tolerate this. Definitely not. Yermak explained that's why our approach with partners is unified: ceasefire first, then negotiations. That's confirmed by all recent statements on both sides of the Atlantic. The office of the President of France has responded to yet another fake story spread by Russian propagandists. This time, the falsehood concerned the recent trip of the leaders of the coalition of the willing to Kiev, according to the Élysée Palace's Twitter account. Representatives of Macron's office published a post with two photos from the train carriage in which European leaders traveled to the Ukrainian capital on May 10th, along with explanatory captions. The first photo shows a napkin on the table, accompanied by the clarification, "This is a tissue for blowing your nose." The second image shows representatives of European country leaders with the caption, "This is European unity to build peace."
When European unity becomes inconvenient, disinformation goes so far as to make a simple tissue look like drugs. This fake news is being spread by France's enemies, both abroad and at home. We must remain vigilant against manipulation.
Fake news about European leaders' trip to Kyiv. Earlier, Russian media spread false reports about an alleged packet of white powder or spoon for cocaine on the table in the train compartment with French President Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Russian propaganda outlets circulated fantasies that the item might have been a drug allegedly used by the European politicians on their way to Kyiv by train. They even claimed that when reporters entered the compartment, Macron quickly removed the item. Meanwhile, French media, after analyzing the footage, concluded that the item in question was a tissue. About visit to Kyiv by European leaders, on May 10th, the leaders of the coalition of the willing arrived in Kyiv. French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This visit took place amid efforts by European leaders to expedite the cessation of Russian military aggression and ensure just peace in Ukraine, including a ceasefire for at least 30 days. Additionally, the leaders discussed the possibility of sending a contingent to Ukraine to monitor the ceasefire. Furthermore, in Kyiv during the negotiations, the coalition of the willing leaders called US President Donald Trump. The parties agreed on a call for Russia to fully cease hostilities for a period of 30 days, starting from May 12th, and threatened new sanctions if Russia refuses. Also, it was recently revealed by Western media how Macron, in the interest of peace, woke up Trump from Kyiv when it was very early in the morning in the US. French President Emmanuel Macron stated that he does not rule out the deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine after the active phase of hostilities ends, according to Le Parisien. He emphasized that this could help stabilize the situation in the region.
It is important to understand that authority is not determined by numbers. Today, the largest army in Europe is Ukraine's, with 1 million soldiers mobilized. No other army can gather such a number of people. The key is the presence of troops in Ukraine.
In response to a question about the size of the potential contingent, the French president stated that it would involve several thousand troops, but definitely not hundreds of thousands. According to him, foreign forces could act as a second line of defense, either in the air or at strategically important areas away from the front lines. It's not about numbers, it's about being there to provide support as a second line of defense in the air or at strategic points away from the front line, Macron explained. He also mentioned that consultations on this issue are ongoing among European partners. About peacekeeping forces for Ukraine, negotiations are currently underway regarding how to implement deterrence measures against Russia during a ceasefire and the end of the war. The US has pushed for Europe to send troops to Ukraine. The UK and France have taken the lead in Europe's peacekeeping efforts, establishing the coalition of the willing. Its goal is to unite countries willing to send troops to Ukraine and provide other support to ensure peace. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.